Again, tourism is critical importance in part of the rural economy, especially in the likes of Clare and rural areas like that. Can I ask, under the current leader programme, are we missing out on high quality tourism projects that will benefit rural communities because the programme isn't funded properly? And do you think there are any other funding streams that can support tourism development projects in the future if the leader programme isn't supported properly in the next round of CAP, which is a serious concern?
We'll have no funding for leader tourism projects after December. All our tourism funding will be gone, and then for the next 3 years there's no small rural tourism project in the county that will be able to access public funding or leader funding or any other funding. There's nothing to replace that, and that would be similar in lots of parts of the country. So because the current programme is underfunded, we're all at risk of running out of leader funding in the next year or two, and then you're facing maybe 2-3 years with no leader funding for those projects on the ground. Now, that's because the current programme is underfunded, but it shows the risk of, you know, if that continues into the future, you know, can you even open the doors in the first place on tourism funding if you can only fund such a small amount? So I think the viability of tourism projects and a whole range of leader supported areas is at risk because of the lack of funding, not because of the lack of projects. We have 10 excellent high quality leader projects or tourism projects that we could fund in the next year, but we will not be able to fund them. And tourism is such an important part of the development of rural economies. It gets out, everybody knows that, it gets out into places and reaches places that a lot of other developments don't.
Can this have a serious effect on employment going forward in the tourism section?
Yeah, absolutely. So much seasonal and all year round, you know, and increasingly a lot of rural tourism projects are actually bringing people in at all times of the year. They're not just as seasonal as they used to be. They're experiential, they're innovative, they're water based or they're food based, or they're, you know, so they're bringing people in at all times of the year. So that employment that used to be very seasonal in particularly in the west of Ireland is actually less so now. There are job opportunities that can spread all year round or into most of the year. So yes, employment is definitely going to be affected, and it's into places where there are no other opportunities for jobs.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, and that is the serious concern, and more so to rural areas that's going to be affected very much going forward.
Yes.
So that would definitely need to be looked at going forward. Now, I know from my own time as a councillor the importance of your organisation and the leader programme to rural communities, and indeed the added value you and the scheme brings to the local authority, which is very important. Can you outline the value of the CLDC and Clare County Council being to each other, the sort of projects that gets delivered because of this added value, and the impact any reduction in leader funding might have on this collaborative benefit for rural communities?
Yeah, I think Deputy Kenny mentioned earlier about, you know, the leader, the local authority-led leader, and the decline that we all believe is there since then. But there is another way of working, which is collaboratively and in partnership with local authorities. We've had county councillors on our board all of the time that we've been an independent, leader group. So we don't have to be pitted against each other. We can actually work really well together by using our strengths, and in that regard, in Clare County Council have asked us to work with them on identifying and working with the sort of more depopulated rural communities in Clare to see how we can work together to bring supports to those areas. The County Council want to do their bit. They want us to come in and work with them so that jointly we can actually lift these places from where they are now and help to turn around the decline that we all see. So there's a great opportunity, and we talk about in Clare about specific places like Kilrush where there's a very high level of disadvantage, and we've got resources, we've got plans for that town. The council want to work with us in developing that. So there's places that we can focus on. There's general areas like social enterprise, community development, rural services, and what we in Leader is called smart village collaboration, where we can work together to develop, and modernise a lot of the I suppose the development of rural communities. So yeah, there's lots of really good examples all around the country of where that can happen, but that works best when it's in partnership, not the local authority making the decisions, but working in partnership and recognising the strengths that we have. We're not the same, and we don't need to be the same to work together. In fact, we work best through putting all our skills and resources together. And I think in Clare we actually are on a really good path now with the local authority on that.
That'll do, and some fantastic work has been achieved with the local authority work with CLDC.
Yeah.
And naturally enough, a reduction in the leader funding is going to affect that going forward as well.
Absolutely, yes.